Hey there, it's CJ Willie, and I'm cracking a pack. Today is pack number 3 in my Magic the Gathering Ikoria Lair of Behemoths bundle. Check out my preview video on my Ikoria bundle as I explain the concept of what is your pick. I've added the link to the preview video in the description below. So anyway, as I get ready to crack open pack number 3, just a reminder, I'm going to be looking at it from a very casual Magic the Gathering player standpoint, as it would be in a draft. As I've talked about, my friends and I, we do a booster box draft. Every time a new booster box comes out, we do the draft, 3 rounds of draft, typical like everyone else, except for you don't keep your rares and mythic rares. After all 3 rounds are complete, we put all the rares and mythic rares back in the center of the table, and then based upon winning percentage, that's first pick all the way through 4th, and repeat. So if you saw my preview video, I was able to draft being second place. I was able to draft a Luca, and then a Luris, and then a really cool Triumph alternate showcase art. So anyway, let's get to cracking this pack as I review them from, that kind of casual Magic the Gathering player draft point of view. I'm no pro, so my picks, hopefully will draw up conversation. All right, let's scroll in. Yeah, about right there. Okay. First card out of the pack is Springjaw Trap. 1 generic mana, it's an artifact. It has flash. 4 generic mana and tap it. You can sacrifice Springjaw Trap. It deals 3 damage to any target. No, I drafted it maybe once or twice very late and just didn't make the cut. There are many other cards that were a lot better than this particular one. Okay. Next up we have Crustacean, 4 mana, 3 and a blue. It's a crab. It's a 1/6 and it has flash. I did draft this in my blue-white flyers deck, mainly as kind of defensive on the ground blocker. Having flash, sure, it was great. It didn't really take anything out. I mean, it would just block stuff. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would like it. I like the 1-drop Aegis Turtle quite a bit better. Next up we have Lurking Deadeye, 4 mana, 3 and black. It's a human assassin. It's a 4/2. It has flash, so our first 3 cards all have flash. When Lurking Deadeye enters the battlefield, destroy target creature that has dealt damage this turn. I like this effect. I like it much better that it has flash. I think previous iterations of this type of card were at sorcery speed. This one's pretty cool because, you wait for combat damage to figure itself all out, or you can flash it in the middle, just because maybe you've got to flash it in for a surprise block. The other thing that I liked about it was typically with it being sorcery speed, it was really dependent upon what your attacks were and your turn. Being able to flash this in on the end of my opponent's turn, pretty cool. So I did like Lurking Deadeye. Drannith Stinger, 2 mana, 1 and a red, is a human wizard at 2/2. Whenever you cycle another card, Drannith Stinger deals 1 damage to each opponent. It has cycling 1. I wanted to play the cycling deck so bad, the red-white cycling deck. It just didn't happen for me. And the way that it worked during our 3 rounds of draft, the red-white cycling deck just never came together. However, I think from a constructed standpoint, I'd really like to build a standard deck that is a red-white cycling deck. I don't know, though, if this common makes that deck. Next, we have Mysterious Egg for 1 generic mana. It's an egg, it's an 0/2. Whenever this creature mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I did like Mysterious Egg. There was one game where I went sort of heavy mutate, and I had a couple of these Mysterious Eggs. Kind of the Christmas land was you would put Dreamtail Heron on this, so a really good common combo, and you draw a card off of Dreamtail Heron, it would get a counter and be a 4/5 flyer. So that was a pretty nifty combo that I liked. So Mysterious Egg was a good common I thought to play. Frost Lynx, 3 mana, 2 and a blue, elemental cat. When Frost Lynx enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. It's a 2/2. Frost Lynx has been around previously. It's a card I like. I especially like playing it in a blue-white kind of tempo-y deck where I'm able to tap down an attacker that's going to give me fits, or tap down kind of a creature that's a little annoying. So it buys me a little bit of time. It was nothing special in Ikoria, but I did like Frostlink, and overall I do like it in a limited draft format. Helical Glider is 3 mana, 2 and white. Nightmare Squirrel, it's a 2/2. When Helical Glider enters the battlefield with your choice of a flying counter or a first strike counter on it. Rarely have I used the first strike counter. Most of the time I'm using the flying counter. And it's a good card to put in, a blue-white tempo deck. Even works out somewhat in like a black-white deck as well. Helical Glider, though, I think could fit into just about any white deck. And I think most of the time it's flying. 3/2, 3 mana, 2/2 flyer is a pretty good rate. Next up is Katherine Whisper. 5 mana, 4 and a black. It's a nightmare at 4/4. It has a Menace. Whenever this creature mutates, each opponent discards a card. And its mutate cost is 4 mana, 3 and a black. I like this. I especially liked holding on to it and playing a little bit later in the game with its mutate cost. And hopefully grabbing the last card in my opponent's hand, or maybe their bomb, or maybe mana they needed. Katherine Whisper, I like it quite a bit at common. It had a really good combo effect with, once again, Mysterious Egg. It would enter, they discard a card, and have a 5/5 creature on the ground with Menace. So Menace really made this card stand out as a good common in black. Essence Symbiote, 2 mana, 1 and a green. It's a beast. It's a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and you gain 2 life. I never saw this card in our 3 rounds of draft. It's a common. I went Obzon one time with a mutate theme. I really wanted this card, but I never saw it. I think it's a good mutate creature in that it's going to give those +1/+1 counters, and gaining 2 life wasn't nothing to sneeze at. So Essence Symbiote was a good card at common. I had it played against me a couple of times, and it did some work. It's not a card that I want, or a creature I wanted to kill. I wanted to kill the other things, so it stayed on the battlefield and did its work as a mutate enabler sort of card. Next we have Perimeter Sergeant at 3 mana, 2 and a white. It's a human soldier at 3/2. Whenever Perimeter Sergeant attacks other humans you control, you get +1/+0 until end of turn. I drafted this in a white, like the Obzon deck that I talked about. Just didn't have enough humans to matter, and it was a relatively easy cut because it had other creatures at 3 mana that I wanted to play over it. I suppose if you had somewhat of a human theme, this is going to work out. Maybe something in like a white, red, cycling deck, or a deck that's going to feature a few humans, which is going to be white based and maybe white blue or white red. First uncommon is Ivy Elemental, X generic, and then green. It's an elemental at 0/0. Ivy Elemental enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So really in this set, this is an uncommon with a mutate theme. There are many other better green uncommons that you can just pay X, and you're always going to get 1 less the rate. So if you paid 5 mana, you're going to get a 4/4. 6 mana, you're going to get a 5/5. But mutating on top of it is really where it comes in, because it's going to make whatever mutate creature you have with possibly a higher power and toughness, and then getting the mutate abilities. I drafted it, but at that point in the deck I was in, I didn't go green, so don't really have much to say on how it worked out for me. Escape Protocol is 1 and a blue. Enchantment, whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1 generic. When you do, exile target artifact or creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. I drafted this once, and I thought about playing it in a blue-white deck. The problem was I didn't have enough enter the battlefield abilities, I think, to make it matter. Though this is definitely a card that I'm going to watch because I'd like to build around it. I'd really like to kind of build around it in a Jeskai kind of theme and see what I can do with it. But I haven't seen it played against me in any drafts. I didn't play it in a draft. Constructed, I'm sure it has some sort of impact, but I'm not entirely sure how it would play out. Our final uncommon is Grim Dancer, 3 mana, 1 and 2 black. It's a nightmare, 3/3. Grim Dancer enters the battlefield with your choice of 2 different counters on it from among Menace, Death Touch, and Lifelink. This card I really like. This may end up being my pack one, pick one, if you will, or what is my pick out of the pack. I was able to pick Grim Dancer in one of my draft rounds. I think it was in my Obzon deck, if I remember correctly. It is a great card and great situational. I mean, most of the times that I played it, I usually was playing it as a Menace Death Toucher because I had lifelink ability on other creatures, and so attacking in with this was fantastic because I knew if it needed to be blocked, it was going to take out both creatures or any creatures that were blocking it. And so most of the time I was able to just get in for 3 damage because it was going unblocked. One time I was able to mutate on top of it. It was the uncommon black mutate creature that I think is a 4/5, and it has death touch. I mean, whoopee-doo, but then a 4/5 menace with death touch, that's no joke, and it was really hard to deal with. So this may be my pack one, pick one, or what is my pick? All right, our rare, mythic, rare. So far we've gotten a couple of rares, Cub Warden and Bonder's Enclave. I mean, both cards that I look at trying out in constructed decks, but let's look for something great. Okay, with our great reveal, Death's Oasis. Obs on color, so 1 white, 1 black, 1 green is an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then return a creature card with lesser converted mana cost than the creature that died from your graveyard to your hand. You can pay 1 generic, sacrifice Death's Oasis. You gain life equal to the greatest converted mana cost among creatures you control. So I did draft this in my Obzon deck, and I played it. And I think I was able to play it twice. The first time I played it, my friend that I was playing against, none of his kill spells destroyed a creature. They just exiled them. So the 2 biggest creatures I had out when I was playing Death's Oasis, he exiled. So I wasn't able to do anything. The other time that I was able to play it, I played it, and 1 creature died, and that creature had a converted mana cost of 3, and I looked at my graveyard, and I didn't have a single creature in my graveyard with a converted mana cost less than 3. And then later on in the game, I didn't get anything bigger creature-wise to be able to return that creature with converted mana cost 3. So I definitely think in limited it was really hard to pull off, but in a standard constructed environment, I think it's something I can build around. And I do have a Pioneer Obzon deck that I really like, and this could be something I could try out in that deck. Okay, and then we have Rugged Highlands and a Human Soldier token. So my pick in this pack, I think I kind of tipped my hand a little bit, but if I had this pack in a draft format, I would take Grim Dancer. I think it's got some really cool abilities that are situational. I mean, most of the time I'm probably taking Menace and Death Touch, but I can see where Menace and Lifelink makes sense, and there are rare situations where maybe Lifelink and Death Touch makes sense as well. So my experience was that most of the time I was using Menace and Death Touch, but there are times where I wished not that I wished, I had different options that would make sense. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please subscribe and share. Take some time to tell me in the comment section what was your pack one, pick one. Until next time, when I'm back to crack pack number 4 in my Magic the Gathering Ikoria Lair of Behemoths, what is your pick?